February 9th, entry 19. Unexpected birthday gift? Let's call this my Bday gift. The day itself didn't turn out to be that special, at least not when it was supposed to be. But in the parts where I expected the non-existent fun to die down, it ended up being very special. Strange. Christian said he'd do his best to make it happen. He wasn't lying, and it did occur. But let me start from an earlier point. We were supposed to go to Lasergate yesterday, February 8th. We planned on it, but events just sort of fell through. First it was one thing, then it was another. In the end, nobody went, and we just stayed over Malik's that night. The next day, we chilled over Malik's until the afternoon and planned on heading to Lasergate again. We checked to see if Malik wanted to come, but he declined. Malik said that we weren't ditching him by leaving since we asked if he wanted to come. Guilt-free, we bounced. While trying to figure out how to orchestrate this fine event today, it ended up just being Max, Z, and myself, even though his mom said he couldn't come because Massachusetts was too far away. Luckily, Juju convinced him to go. We left around 4 p.m., and he seemed rather dejected because he felt that today was going to be a terrible and boring day. Bracket, I think because it was cloudy and looked like it was going to rain. End bracket. I empathized with him. Coincidentally, it turned out not to be that bad. We met Tom when we went there and played 2 games of laser tag. Tom only had enough money for the first game, unfortunately. Afterwards, he admitted it wasn't bad, and when we got back to Pawtucket, my mom dropped us off at Christian's house. Later that night, we planned on trying to get Z into the gay club platforms, with me, Chris, Diva, Henry, and Chris's mom. Z was all set because he told his mom he was staying over my casa that night. During the course of that night, all, quote-unquote, drank shots mixed with Coca-Cola and got tipsy, blah, 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 etc. It was funny watching Z get out of the car and stumble around, vaguely tipsy. Bracket. I don't recall whether he had alcohol or not, but I assume so since I used the word tipsy to describe him. End bracket. At least it was fun, until the police pulled up to us as we were parked in the car and asked for our ages and IDs. It made us all really nervous. You should have seen how nervous Z was. He had his hands up the entire time, voluntarily. They asked him to step out of the car and walk over to the policeman. He had his hands up the entire time until the police told him to put it down. If I wasn't so nervous myself, I might have laughed. Seeing nothing wrong, the policeman let us go. We tried to get Z into the club and failed. We were saddened, but then incensed when another argument broke out between Chris and Henry. Chris was Christian, and Henry was his current and sensitive Irish Pisces boyfriend. They would argue a lot. I recall hanging with Chris one time, and they argued for the entire 2 hours I was there. I hung with Christian a bit less due to that. A bit of advice. I understand there will be social mistakes made sometimes, but if, as the rule, your relationship can't control its aggression towards each other in front of others, and you can't help but to argue in front of friends, parents, strangers, etc., then your relationship may not be ready to exist in public. Maybe you guys need to do a little behind-the-scenes work so things operate more smoothly during social situations and when around other people. Side note, there is a difference between argue and debate. If others are allowed to join in on a non-offensive, non-attacking, thought-provoking, albeit heated topic, then it's a debate. If it's being argued discreetly in the corner and not attracting too much attention, then at least it's a discreet argument or discreet debate. But if both of these rules are violated, then maybe you guys should save the conversation for later. Just friendly advice unless you are inviting the commentary and opinions of others. Or, at least, that's how I feel while writing this, at 24 years of age. End bracket. We all went home. There, Chris and Henry proceeded to make up, and then had a fight again, because Chris wouldn't tell Henry that he had events planned, and Henry wanted Chris to lay with him. An hour later, Henry left. After we had a quick laugh and prepared for bed, Z was on MySpace and AIM, and Chris, I don't even remember what he was doing. Chris told Z blah, and Z responded blah. After a while of waiting for them, I told Z to wrap it up because I was kicking him off my laptop so I could put the computer away and head to sleep. Bracket. I was, and still am, protective over my valuable equipment. That's natural when you spend any length of time with a reliable tool, much like a writer in his writing pad or an artist in his art utensils. Or, I don't know, a car enthusiast in his favorite new car. End bracket. After I put it away, Chris, in a joking tone, told me to lock the door because Z was getting raped. I think we were both amused, and neither of us expected what happened next to actually happen. At least I didn't, and I don't know if Z did or not. Maybe they talked about it beforehand? Chris probably planned it from the beginning. Bracket. Just to clarify, no rape actually occurred. It was completely consensual and amazing three-way. End bracket. That night, let's just say Z had his first menage a trois. In spite of that, I feel the need to mention that, disregarding the fact that he's clearly open to homosexual activities, I feel I should tread carefully because, though I approve of his eventual experimentation, I don't want to lose him over it. Chris warned me that it might happen. He'll experiment and I might get hurt. That's what I need to tread carefully with regards to. And that is what I need to carefully deal with. The question is, how? P.S. Today he told me he broke up with Marissa and is now trying to go out with some girl named Jessica. Jessica said she wasn't ready just yet. He's seeing her this Friday, and is still a virgin as far as girls are concerned, as far as I believe. Bracket. Mostly because I found his first story dubious, but in light of my own experiences with him, I probably shouldn't have doubted him. End bracket. He also said he's trying to stay single for a little while, which we all know is complete bullshit. The only reason he is ever single is because nobody new has asked him out yet. Bracket. Careful, Khedive, your bitter side is showing. LOL. End bracket. On the flip side, I asked him, and he told me that he thought I'd make a good boyfriend if that situation ever came about. I thought it sounded good. I was glad he had that opinion or impression. Now, if only he'd be the boy that I'd be that friend for, I'd be all set.